In the wake of the release of the Trump camp's apparent dossier on JD Vance, the release of which, of course, got independent journalist and friend of the show, Ken Klippenstein, banned from the bastion of free speech that is Twitter, we're now getting an even better look at what JD Vance apparently thought about Donald Trump, thanks to the release of some DMs that he sent to a friend. And when we read this for you, I want you to remember that JD Vance, who was incredibly outspoken from like 2016-ish era about Trump, calling him a grifter and a con man and a fake populist, and he was appealing to racism and he might be America's Hitler. Now, of course, he's a big fan of Donald Trump, and he says the reason he switched on that is the experience of the first Trump term. He was the best president of my life, JD Vance says, and he was so convinced by the end of that term that forget all that stuff I said about him being a racist con man.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
Well, here is what he apparently sent to a friend in February of 2020, the last year of the Trump term. Trump has just so thoroughly failed to deliver on his economic populism, accepting a disjointed China policy. So on the substance, on the policy, he had failed, thoroughly failed. Now, to be fair, that was sent in February of 2020, which meant that maybe Trump so nailed it between March of 2020 and November that did change JD Vance's opinion of him. And of course, we all remember that from February to the end of 2020 was just the best time. And Trump was just banging away on all cylinders or whatever. But anyway, no, it puts the lie to everything that he said about why he switched. He didn't switch because he was convinced. He wasn't convinced at all. He thought it was a failure. He changed his mind because he wanted power. That's it. And you have to bow down to Trump to get that power. Now, it wasn't the only message he sent. In another, he said in June of 2020, he predicted that Joe Biden would win the election. Quote, I think Trump will probably lose, referring, of course, to the election that he would later baselessly claim had been stolen by Democrats. Now, of course, in the dossier, we find out that he was not at all convinced by the claims that the 2020 election had been stolen or that claims about voter fraud in 2016 were true. He now makes those claims, but he previously had not, and that's according to Trump. He also, by the way, had a message, this is the same one where he predicted that Trump would lose. He implied that he'd been offered and rejected some kind of job, saying, quote, I've already turned down my appointment from the emperor, with a winking emoji, which is very, very cool. Asked what job it was, he said, I'm not going to say that over Twitter Messenger, maybe accurately predicting that these would be leaked someday. So I don't know what job he was being offered in the waning days of the Trump term, but he turned it down at that point. Maybe he thought Trump would lose and that would be it. It'd be a new party. And that, of course, isn't the way it went. And so he once again glommed on like a little sucker fish to Donald Trump. And I'm curious, Brett, what you make of all this that's been revealed.
In Japan, you can pay people to be your family member. They make a living by adapting their entire life story to being someone as close to you as your family member. That's JD Vance. He tried to make an honest living some other way, but then he was like, let me get into politics. And since then, he's just been a rent-a-friend, a rent-a-family guy. That's one way to look at it. The other thing is, like, back when Romney was running against Obama, there was like a moment on CNN where John Fugelsang was interviewing somebody who worked for Romney, not him as vice presidential candidate. And that person was like, we finished the primary. Now it's the Etch-a-Sketch moment where you shake it and start over.
Yeah.
And that sunk Romney tangibly in the polls. That moment of that person tangentially affiliated with the campaign. Cut to JD Vance. JD Vance has taken the Etch-a-Sketch of what he says he represents, shaken it, opened it, poured it out, burned it, find another Etch-a-Sketch right on that one. No, I'm not a liberal anymore. Now I'm a conservative, but I don't like Trump. Nope, that didn't work out. Shake it, get rid of it. Go get another Etch-a-Sketch right on that. Okay, now I love Trump and I want to be his vice presidential candidate. He shows it to Charlie Kirk's dumbass and morons like Trump Jr. and Trump III, and they go like, dude, that sounds good. I like Etch-a-Sketch. You should make him a vice presidential candidate. And this fake ass climbing grifter, JD Vance, who incidentally is creepy as F and has no charisma, is the vice presidential candidate. And through things, these revelations that will keep getting revealed, despite how much free speech Elon Musk wants to silence them, like people see it. Guy's a faker. Guy's a faker, and it's BS, and we all smell it. We see it. We wish we didn't. We wish we didn't see his weird, like, sidewinder ass with his hands walking like this and his weird tiny neck, this giant head, even though he grows the beard. Like, we still see you, JD Vance. You're a fake. You're a charlatan.
When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?